So there's no way I'm not going to come out of this review without sounding like a smidge of a pervert, so let's just get this over with. Nerd Theory. Senran Kagura Senran Kagura Peach Beach Blast. Now, this is actually a series that's been around for a little while now, and it focuses on 4 clans of shinobi warriors in the modern day, all of which are female. The last game basically focused on hack and slash, kind of a Dynasty Warriors dynamic, but the main takeaway of that was that every time you got hit, a piece of like clothing got sliced or starts coming off, and they're trying to bring this sexiness to this series. Now, with this one, it just takes, you don't have to worry about slicing off clothes because their clothes are pretty much off throughout this entire thing because they're in bikinis. Now, for those of you that don't already know about this series already or haven't seen previews or anything at all, I'm just going to go ahead and just put it out here for you. There are breast physics in here. Very unrealistic breast physics in here. I'm sorry. So the overall plot of this particular game is that you're kind of doing this kind of game show type thing. You got the 4 separate clans of shinobi warrior women. Very big-chested is really the only way I know how to say it without sounding too crude. So they're basically doing this with like super soakers and water guns, and there's teams, and they're trying to get the most hits on what is basically YouTube, except for they call it something else in this game. And that's primarily the plot of this game, it seems like. There's probably a little bit more to it than that I'm not telling you, but that's what I'm getting out of it. So since there's 4 different clans, there's actually 4 different campaigns within the game. They last about 10 chapters each chapter being like a battle, essentially. There is a storyline with each one, but whether or not you're going to actually be attached to these stories is kind of up in the air. I really wasn't, to be perfectly honest. When you start the game, you actually get to pick your character and your loadout. They could be like dual water pistols, they could be a super soaker, it could be like this water grenade launcher looking thing, whatever the case may be. And with that, you actually get these cards that actually give you kind of a buff during the battle that's going to happen. On top of that, you actually get this backpack full of water that actually blasts you in the air, and you can actually go across the map a little ways before you run out of water. Now, having said that, you do run out of water, so it's not consistent. You have to time your attacks, and you have to time it to where you're going to be safe to basically load the water back into your guns. That's probably the challenge of this game the most, is realizing when you're getting low and when it's safe or running away to be safe to reload so you can go back into the battle. This game does have an anime art style if you haven't noticed already, and with that, there's a lot of cliches that go along with that. Now, within each of the campaigns, as you get to like the last 4 or 5 chapters of the campaign, you're actually going against the actual rival clans instead of just fighting bots, essentially. And when that does happen, there is a little thing that happens where you can, when you take somebody out, they're on the ground, they're out, but you can go up to them and do a finishing blow. Now, what is that finishing blow? Well, I'll tell you. Basically, you go into a first-person mode and you just hose them down with water. Just hose them down and you aim it towards their top or their bottoms. And if you do it enough, their tops or bottoms just fly off. So yeah, that can happen. Now, after each battle, you actually get rewarded with these cards that you collect, or you can actually use for the next battle if you choose to. Not to mention, you do gain money that you can use at the store to buy items with, where you can actually go into the menu and decorate your characters in different ways. You can change their color of their hair, you can add glasses, you can add bunny ears, or even a cat tail if you want to. But more than that, you can go into a hands-free mode, and I just did this because I think you might know where I'm going. So these hands come up, and you can turn the girl around, and you can actually play with their parts. I mean, I don't know how else to really say without sounding vulgar. And also, on top of that, there's a little heart in the right-hand corner, and if you honk their boobs, like one at a time, like left, right, left, right, left, right, the heart meter fills up, and I guess they love you? Because that's how things work. Also with that, there's another mode that kind of takes each character and you kind of do a one-on-one battle. That actually helps extend the length of the game if you actually are at that point so far and you haven't found the game too crass or too boring, which is basically the worst thing about this game. If you're already a fan of this game, or this series rather, you're probably going to like this game. If you're not already a fan, this game probably isn't going to do anything to change your mind about it. But I think the worst part about it is that it's just so repetitious. Every battle is just like, okay, I'm going to go in there, I'm going to shoot some bots. The maps don't really change that often. I mean, they do, but there's not enough variety, at least for my taste. And you're just essentially fighting bots the entire time through the campaigns. Now, having said that, there is a multiplayer in this, and I will be the first to admit that I got this pretty early before it came out, and I didn't get a chance to go into the multiplayer at all because I just didn't think a lot of people would be there. I mean, sorry to say it. So yeah, it just can't, I mean, besides, the obvious sexiness it was trying to go for with the really unrealistic boob physics and all that, the game itself was just way too repetitive for me. I didn't enjoy the story at all when I was playing through the different campaigns. I understand that there is a following for this, or else they wouldn't keep on making these games, but this game just didn't change my mind about the series at all. I didn't care for it that much. After so many hours of playing it and streaming it, I was like, you know what, I'm good. So with that being said, I'm going to give this game a 2 out of 5. But hey, that's just my opinion. Doesn't mean shit in the long run. What did you think about the game? Have you played it? Let me know in the comments below. Please like and subscribe and keep on being entertained, as long as it's legal.